My name is Zebulon Fry, and this is Practical Prosperity. That's the name of this workshop. Thank you all for coming and being here with me today. And the reason I came up with, I was thinking about the name for this workshop, and I decided on Practical Prosperity because as we go through this, it's about the process of, there's a formula involved that I'll share with you, and it's about the process of taking that formula, putting it into play, and there are activities that we're going to do today with these worksheets that I've given out that you can do every day. You can do on an ongoing basis throughout your life. And by doing these, it'll focus your attention where it needs to be. You'll have a plan, you'll have a course of action, you'll have steps to take, and that is the key to having what you want in your life. Now, this formula I'm going to share with you is you can apply any idea to it. We're going to do prosperity today, but you can apply anything you want to create in your life. It's a creative process, so you can plug in any sort of idea that you want into that formula. So I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I started my professional career in finance as a mortgage loan officer back in South Florida about 10 years ago, and I did phenomenally well. I had many $40,000 months on my own company where I was doing $2-3 million a year in revenue with my own mortgage company down there. And so I'm accustomed to and aware of what it takes to create massive amounts of money in your life. And so that's kind of my background in brief. And what I do right now is I own a company called Life Masters. I'm a wealth and business coach. And running a tandem with that, I'm working with a foundation that is the purpose of which is to fund humanitarian projects, mostly global economic development and infrastructure in companies like Africa, and I'm putting in roads and utilities in and things like that. And I've been doing that for about 1.5 years, and that was a startup, and so we're working on that. So that gives you an idea on kind of what I do and where I've come from. And so we're going to start with the formula that I mentioned. Now, you may have seen this formula before, and I can turn this so you guys can see it too. But
yeah, that's great.
And so this formula is the creative process as far as we know. You use it every day. You've used it your whole life. You've always used it. It's always been, as far as we know, it's the way things are created. Now, a lot of folks, everyone in this room, I know most of you, I know pretty much all of you, I'm aware of how advanced you all are. Now, there's a lot of folks in the world, though, that use the same process, and I've done it, we all do it sometimes, use the same formula and the same process to create unconsciously, because everything starts with a thought. So you're starting with your thoughts, and if you're not monitoring your thoughts, and you're creating with those thoughts, and you're creating unconsciously. So the point of this is to be aware of the process, be aware of how it works, and to consciously create your life the way you want it to look. And so that's what this is all about. So the first step, as I mentioned, is thoughts.
This is right on. Okay, right.
Yeah, I'm just writing up here now. You can take notes on the blank page if you want to. Yeah. So, thoughts is the beginning of the process. Everything starts with a thought. I mean, think about this building. Think about the building next door, actually. That's newer and kind of fresh on everyone's mind. It started with a thought. At some point, someone said, I know who that someone was, said, I think a building ought to be here. I don't know exactly where the building is going to be, per se. I don't know the exact corners of it, but I think a building will look good right here. And that felt good, and there were feelings associated with that, with having that building. I don't know what it's going to look like. I don't know where the walls are going to be on the inside. I don't know exactly where it's going to be. I just think a building would be good right here. And then the next part of that was, of course, feeling the feelings that come along with that. Now, to sustain those feelings, you have to get your emotions involved. Get emotionally involved with your vision. And what that means is having a purpose for it. So back to the building is a great example over there. So I want this building here, it's going to be great. Well, why? What's the why? What is the reason? Why do you want that building there? Was that building wanted to be there? And the answer was probably because it would change the lives of people everywhere, because we would have more teaching space, more room for people to fellowship with one another. On days like today when we're all eating, everyone was kind of packed in there having conversations. That's great. It gives the kids upstairs, it gives them their space that they deserve so they can grow and develop at a faster pace. It opens up this space for classroom time, gets the practitioners in our office, frees up the administration to grow and add people that need to be added. So all of these things it affects, it's more the general outline for purpose, and which is what the vehicle we use to get our emotions involved, is more good to all and less to none. That's the general outline that we can kind of stick with there, because that's, as far as we know, from what we can see, that is the general outline, the purpose of the divine, purpose of infinite intelligence is more good to all and less to none. And so, as long as that's a really general framework, there's lots of wiggle room in there, lots of room to play around. So as long as we can stay within that framework, then you're on the right track. And so that was what I believe probably was the purpose for having that building next door. Next, after emotions and after getting your purpose and getting emotionally involved, you're going to want to take action. Take action. Action is such a key. It's my favorite part of taking action, because you get to actually express whatever it is into the world. You got all this emotional charge and all these ideas inside. You get to express that into the world. And the way this thing works is you start with the emotion, or you start with the thought rather. Thought of anything. Prosperity in this case is what we're working with today. So you start with the thought of prosperity. You get a vision. You get an idea of what that thought looks like. Then thinking about that vision causes you to feel a certain way. I feel like I need to do this. So you take action, and then taking that action sets the law of cause and effect into motion. And that law of cause and effect always and only exactly brings back to you what you put out. So we're not talking about necessarily you put out $100,000 and $100,000 comes back to you. We're talking about the intent. What is your intent? Who do you want to affect? How is this plan or this purpose that you're working with, this idea, how is it going to affect yourself, your family, your community, your world? How are all of these groups going to be affected? Is there a specific group that you want to affect specifically? And how are they going to be affected in a good way? And so, once you take that action, the final step is results, as I said. So you get your results back, and that's your life. And so, we have this idea of prosperity in this case, and we think about what prosperity looks like in our life, and it starts feeling good, and we like that feeling, so we study that feeling, and we figure out exactly what that feeling is, and we build a purpose around that feeling, around the value that feeling carries, and that purpose is what it gives you the stay power with your emotion, with that feeling that you have. It's what causes that feeling to stay, because if you're just visualizing it and kind of daydreaming or castle building, we'll call it, then when you open your eyes, it's gone. But when you have a purpose and you have something solid backing, a solid purpose backing that vision, then it stays with you, and then you carry that out into life, into your expression, with your action, and the results come back to you. So that's the formula. The next step is the results. We've got our thinking, we've got our emotions involved with it, we've got the action plan down. We'll take, actually the next step is following the plan, of course, going through that. And as you go along, though, the results come back to you. Law of cause and effect, again, always playing, always going, always working. And the results will come back. But there's this middle time here. There's this middle time here that I really want to talk about. It's really important. This part right here. Because there's a time delay between the time that you take action and the time that your result will show up. There's a time delay. And so there's a gap there. I call it a gap. And you can fill in the gaps with fear, or you can fill in the gaps with faith. When I talk about faith, I'm talking about whole faith. Faith with gratitude. When you have whole faith, remember guys, this is one thing. It's one thing. So when you start here, you're already connected with this. You've already connected with this part. And so you got to fill in the gaps with faith by saying, whole faith, saying, I'm so grateful that this is happening right now. It's not going to happen when I do this and somewhere off in the future. It's happening. You're in the process of it happening right now. So it's happening as we speak. From the moment you start, it's happening. And so you have whole faith. I'm so grateful that this is working. I'm so grateful that this is working out the way that I planned for it to work. I'm so grateful this is working out to where I get what I want out of life. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And so that's what this, or you can be afraid. You can be afraid and be paralyzed sometimes and not want to take a step, what if I mess up, And so having that whole faith, knowing that these things that come to you, this inspired action that you get, it just pops into your mind, an action to take. You look at your plan, you look at the inspired action, you look at the results you expect from the inspired action, and if it matches the results of your plan, take it. You have confidence. Now I know I'm going in the right direction. This is the right way for me to go. I'm not being sidetracked, I'm going the right way. And so having that whole faith in there, that is how it ties everything together, and it's so, so very important. Faith with gratitude. And as you do that, you'll have your results. Now, as I said before, things show up that don't necessarily look like the results you planned on, and you just have to be grateful for that part of the process too, because it's all one part of the process. That and the inspired action fall into the same category. So, that's the process. As far as I know, this is the way life is created. It's the way this building was created, the pens that you're using was created. It's the way that the ideas and concepts that are on the paperwork I handed you out was created. All of this is, everything you can see is a result of this process. And so at this point, we've got a few more minutes left. I think we started at 10 after. So I'll take any questions that anyone has.